Hello, everyone, and welcome to this panel discussion. Today we are talking about empowering women in business, and we're looking forward to bringing an informative discussion to talk about trade and gender initiatives to ensure inclusive trade around the world. My name is Carolina Vasquez. I'm the founder of Pacific Trade Global, and I will be your moderator today. Today, I'm joined by Ms. Elizabeth Vasquez, CEO and co-founder of Reconnect International, Dr. Mona Tresta Adhikari, International Consultant, Trade and Gender Development Division of the World Trade Organization, and Mr. Rodrigo Llanes Benitez, Vice Minister of Trade of Chile. A warm welcome to our panelists, and the key components of this conversation will be based on the ongoing initiatives and programs that aim to empower women in trade and connect them to the global markets. We will also discuss on how different stakeholders of the entrepreneurial ecosystem continue to promote and scale women's engagement in global trade. Thank you for being here today. And starting with you, Mona, how has the World Trade Organization been engaging with women entrepreneurs to engage them on trade issues?
Thank you, Caroline, and the Pacific Trade Global team for giving the WTO and me the opportunity to be on this prestigious panel with the distinguished speakers. Before I begin on saying what the WTO is currently doing, I would just like to give a little background. As we know that empowering women in business means achieving multiple development outcomes. It's about boosting productivity, promoting inclusive economic growth, increasing economic diversification, and also meeting sustainable development goals at large. Now, against this background, it can be said that the WTO began focusing on trade and gender since 2017, and that is when the DG nominated a trade and gender focal point. And since then, there have been various activities that are primarily based on 4 objectives. One is about raising awareness on the link between trade and gender. The second is about facilitating WTO members' action on trade and gender. The third is generating new data on the impact of trade on women. And it's about providing training to government officials and to women entrepreneurs. Now, the WTO is engaged in contributing to gender equality in many ways, including through the implementation of the Buenos Aires Declaration on Trade and Women's Economic Empowerment that came into being in December 2017 on the sidelines of the Ministerial Conference. Until date, we have 127 WTO members and observers who represent more than 75% of the world trade. And they have signed it, and when they signed it, it means that they are recognizing that women play a central role in economic growth. And they've also made it clear that empowering women economically is not just an important issue, but that trade can be, it can play a very crucial role in empowering women. Now, the participants of this initiative also agreed to some specific points, and 2 of these things are very important here. One is about exploring ways to tackle the barriers to women in trade and in public procurement markets. And the second is about exchanging information about the best practices and collecting relevant economic data. Now, and it is in this background that I would like to share here that the WTO in 2019, in partnership with 2 regional organizations in South Asia and East Africa, conducted regional surveys targeting women entrepreneurs. So what we found from this survey with over 200 women entrepreneurs working in the formal sector is that in both the regions, the results were pretty much similar. So we found that most women find it difficult to situate themselves on the economic and the trade map. They want to export, but they were not sure about what opportunities lie ahead. Also, more than half of these women entrepreneurs, they responded that they did not receive any training on trade regulations and procedures per se, although there are many other trade capacity building programs that have been ongoing. However, more than 90% do want to show that interest. And it is also that we recently actually just conducted a similar survey in 10 countries with around 350 respondents. Our analysis is still ongoing, but preliminary findings show very much the similar patterns that is there in South Asia and in East Africa. So I'll stop here for now.
Thank you, Mona. And Vice Minister, what does the new global trade and gender arrangement recently signed between Canada, Chile, and New Zealand mean for women involved in international trade, and how they can benefit from this agreement?
Well, this arrangement represents a great opportunity for us to unlock new opportunities and better facilitate women's participation in trade as workers, but also as entrepreneurs. We know that women-owned businesses and workers are less likely to be involved in traded sectors. They face lower wages, they lack of access to capital and productive resources, and also there's a skills mismatch among other issues. Like Mona has also said, the WTO has also alerted us that women are at risk of suffering more than men from trade disruption generated by this pandemic, mainly because they share a large share of women work in those sectors that have been particularly hard hit by the pandemic. So this arrangement attempts to address some challenges faced by women-owned businesses through a different range of provisions, such as non-discrimination on the basis of gender for licensing and certification in the services sector, but also by developing cooperation activities, which will be designed to share knowledge, best practices, for example, eliminating discrimination in employment and occupation. New Zealand, Chile, and Canada are committed to enforce their laws and regulations by promoting gender equality and improving women's access to economic opportunities, encouraging enterprises operating in their territory, incorporating into internal policies gender equality principles, but also to work together in international forums such as the WTO, the OECD, or APEC in order to advance trade and gender issues. This global arrangement on trade and gender is similar to a trade and gender chapter, as it is designed to assist in removing barriers that women face when participating in trade and proposes various cooperation activities that could take place. This is a standalone arrangement. However, it's not linked to a specific trade agreement and therefore is open to any interested economy to sign. And finally, I would like to stress that this arrangement provides new opportunities for women in trade in our countries and in others that will hopefully be joining us in the future. There are many background data and facts that resonate very significantly after this agreement, and that is that women represent a larger share than men in services, for instance. That trade can open new opportunities for women empowerment by opening new markets for their products. Economies with better opportunities for women are more competitive. And also an aspect related to trade that we have surveyed on 2018 here in Chile, and that is that of 315 different surveyed exporters, women exporters, 130 claimed to have felt discriminated, at least in one instance of the exporting process. And 51 of them argued not having a support network required to export. So when we think on services in global economy and trade, the rise of GVCs and the adoption of new digital technologies, new and powerful opportunities for women to better reap the benefits of trade are there. And we believe that frameworks such as this agreement are important to work them on a consistent manner from a trade perspective. Thank you.
Thank you. Elizabeth, in your role with We Connect International, helping women businesses to connect to global trade, and from your perspective, what are the actual needs of women entrepreneurs they have today to expand to global markets? Oh, sorry, we can hear you?
Technology. Thank you so much for this opportunity to be a part of the eConference, especially with this esteemed group of experts. It's really amazing what we're able to do and benefit from because of the work of the WTO and the Chilean government and others who are helping to collect the data and provide recommendations, building public-private partnerships. We Connect is a very unique global nonprofit because it was created by the market. The world's largest buyers self-organized and said, it is good business to buy from women-owned businesses, but we don't know where to find them. And we want to make sure that if we're going to make an effort to source from women that they're actually women-owned businesses. And so we were created as a certifying body to work with all of you partners around the world to help find these women-owned businesses as fast as possible. Verify that they at least have 51% ownership, management, and control of the company so that they actually get the money and decide how to spend that money. And then train them to ensure that they are able to compete for business. And this is really important because right now they are invisible in global value chains. They represent only 1% on average of the global spend on products and services that large corporations or governments are spending on products and services. So women representing 1% is just bad for the economy, it's bad for business, it's bad for inclusive growth, it's bad for job creation. So it's really important that we scale and we collaborate and create these trade linkages so that these businesses can grow and benefit from the resources that are out there, and help to create more resources and more opportunities. So our job is to have this global database of buyers and sellers and educate the buyers and sellers about how to do business together and how to partner with all these wonderful organizations. So thank you, Carolina, for your leadership in this space.
Thank you. And Mona, given the institution that you represent, the World Trade Organization, in the future, what could be the one priority action towards ensuring empowering women in business?
Yeah, thank you, Carolina. Among the various needs of women, I think one of the priority action that the WTO could do, and which is in the making, is the creation and the implementation of a women entrepreneurship program. And this would strengthen women's export capacity. It would help remove the obstacles preventing women to enter into the global market, as well as promote inclusive trade. And I also firmly believe that this program has immense scope to provide women with the specific tools and information on how to best make use of trade for their economic development, as well as their own economic empowerment.
Great, thank you. And Vice Minister, what is the priority number one that is you will be working on to ensure empowering women in business?
Well, considering also the background of the pandemic, for us, it's more important than ever, the gender digital divide. So when we see limited IT skills and how they can prevent women from fully making use of digital technologies in mitigating also the adverse economic effects of the pandemic, we believe that efforts should be precisely directed to help them to bringing their existing businesses online and to develop increasingly online e-commerce opportunities to extend their reach. While where increasing access to capital is still relevant, the current pandemic has also showed us the importance of digital skills training, digital marketing, digital design, online payments. So the strength of such training is that it could help women gain even more from trade. We're not only helping them adapt to the current crisis, but also preparing them for a post-pandemic scenario, which is ever-changing and competitive in this digital landscape, which happens to also be one of the topics that is highlighted in the La Serena Roadmap for Women and Inclusive Growth, which is one of Chile's main deliverables during its APEC host year on 2019. We're currently leading also the development of the implementation plan linked to this roadmap, which will also allow economists to explore actions in order to identify and mitigate the impacts of the pandemic on women's economic empowerment. So in the midst of these unprecedented times, there is potential to rebuild and reimagine programs oriented to help women-owned businesses to scale up and take maximum advantage of the benefits of international trade.
Yeah, that's a big concern. I've noticed, because I've been working with women entrepreneurs from Latin America, there is still a lot of them that they don't have a website. And that would be the first stage in this, to get visibility, participate, and get the technology opportunities and that we have there, right? So, Elizabeth, and from your perspective, what would be your priority number one?
Number one, make sure that we all spend our money with women-owned businesses. It's not rocket science. If we want inclusive growth, we have to make sure that some of that money is going to the communities we care about, whether it's Aboriginal or Black-owned businesses or LGBT or people with disabilities or women-owned businesses. If we care about these communities and we want everyone to contribute and to benefit, we have to be conscious of our purchasing power as individuals and as organizations. And so I totally agree, Carolina. We have a challenge, and Mona and Rodrigo, we have an opportunity to bring the buyers and sellers together. We have a conference coming up for Latin America in the Americas on Tuesday and Wednesday, where the buyers and sellers can actually talk to each other and get to know each other and build relationships and sort of demystify global value chains and supply chains and procurement, to talk about how at the end of the day we can help each other with solutions. And so I think being very practical at this moment in time and working with urgency is really critical, because we can and we will get through this, but we have to build something that's much, much better than what we had before.
Thank you. And Mona, do you want to add something else? Yeah, we are close.
Yes, I just want to thank you. I just wanted to add to what Elizabeth and Vice Minister Rodrigo has been saying is we know that women entrepreneurs have several problems across the whole world. And as I said, our research data says that, although they are in different regions, South Asia, East Africa, and Latin America, they have similar problems. I mean, and most of these problems, to eradicate them, I think one of the key things, or rather few of the key things that is required is the issue about connectivity, and connectivity is also digital connectivity, but it's also about this buyers and sellers meeting and being able to exchange and get into the overall procurement system. But it is also about investing in women, and we know that, as the Vice Minister also says, is you can't go wrong in investing on women entrepreneurs. I mean, that's a sure bet. So I think it's a call to all the development agencies and the private sector and the governments that they should really invest in the economic empowerment of women, because that is definitely going to lead towards an inclusive economic growth. And that's what the country should be looking at, particularly in this time of building back better.
Great. And Elizabeth, do you have a special message at the end of this?
I think we just need to embrace this as a huge opportunity, right? In times of crisis, that's when we learn about our strengths. And so now's the time. Women entrepreneurs, they know what the challenges are at home. They know what the challenges are in their community. They know what the challenges are in business. We just need to make sure they have the same opportunity as men to help fix it and make it better. So I think if we just stay focused on that, I mean, the Vice Minister said this, you can't go wrong if you make sure that everyone has an opportunity. And so I think we should embrace this as a special moment in time to rethink what we're doing and why we're doing it and how we're doing it, and do it much better.
Thank you. We can hear from Vice Minister. What's your final message in this panel?
Well, I think that we're not just talking about principles when we talk about women empowerment, but again, we're talking about good business. So it's the right thing to do, but also it's a smart thing to do. And in this sense, me as an official, I can say that there is increasingly growing commitment in making our trade policies also more gender responsive. Also that this pandemic has also posed a big challenge, but a huge opportunity when it comes to being more inclusive through bridging the digital divide gap. And in this sense, we have been working, incorporating in our FTA gender and trade chapters. In the case of Canada, this was the first standalone chapter on gender and trade. And we have done that also with Uruguay, Argentina, and now Brazil. And we considered that and Ecuador in the past few days. So we believe that undertaking bilateral efforts, but also cooperation activities designed to improve the capacity and conditions of women and their participation in national and international markets is extremely relevant. And doing that through an updated rule book when we talk about trade. So for us, this is contributing to improving the current understanding about the gender impact of trade, enhancing public participation, but also raising public awareness of this matter. So while trade policies cannot overcome all legal and socio-cultural barriers that prevent women from joining international markets, it allows to outline plans, mobilize resources, and ensure implementation of activities such as capacity building and technical skills of women entrepreneurs. So I think it's about time to do this public-private collaboration effort by also including, from a rules perspective, more trade policies that are gender responsive. Because in order for this to happen, in order for this to flourish, we need to also establish the proper incentives, the proper rules, the proper framework, and therefore I invite you to also be vocal and active in this effort from the trade perspective.
Exactly. So from the panels that we had yesterday, we talked a lot about the market entry strategies, the market research. We learned that we have to provide more information, education, training, and also with the technologies that need to be applied in today's businesses. Well, that's for today for this panel discussion. I hope everybody gains some useful insight, keeping in mind the various challenges and constraints women face in business. There are various stakeholders who have been playing a crucial role to help them meet these challenges. Government, private sector organizations, international organizations, and women entrepreneurs groups all have a role to play in creating an enabling environment for inclusive economic growth. In this session, we heard from our speakers on how their institutions have been actively striving towards empowering women in business. More is needed to partner and collaborate as we move forward, more so in difficult times as we are going through right now. And there is no doubt that comprehensive and integrated approach to addressing the needs of women business requires joint collaboration. And finally, we wish everyone the very best. Thank you to everyone who joined us. Another big thank you to Mr. Rodrigo Yanez, Ms. Elizabeth Vasquez, and Dr. Mona Shrestha for joining us and putting this all together. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.